Beyond the Pelvis is hosted by Dr. Keneal Siegel, a pelvic floor PT and intuitive healer, and Laura Haraka, a somatic practitioner and breathwork facilitator. Each week, we explore alternative and holistic approaches to healing chronic pelvic pain and other painful or chronic conditions. Join us and other experts in mind, body, and spiritual healing as we discuss a wealth of modalities ranging from ancient practices to modern therapies that challenge the conventional Western model of treatment. Let's get right to it.
Welcome back to another episode of Beyond the Pelvis, and we are very excited to have with us today Dr. Angelica Whaley, who is a doctor of physical therapy specializing in pelvic health. Her future plans include developing ways to advocate for and heal women of color who experience sexual violence and birthing trauma. Her passion lies with treating women and giving them the space to live their daily lives without limitation and ultimately being an advocate for their overall health. So welcome. So nice to have you here with us today.
Thank you all so much. Thank you, Laura and Camille. I appreciate it. I am so grateful to be sharing this space with y'all today.
Yes, thank you. We were really looking forward to working with you for quite some time now and glad that our schedules worked out so that we can be face to face, although virtually, but be face to face to chat some more.
Yeah, I'm really happy.
Yeah, so Laura just read a little bit of your bio, but we would like to know, who are you today? Who are you? What are you showing up as? And how does that look?
Wow, what a deep question for sure. So yeah, of course, I'm Angelica. I'm a pelvic health PT, and I feel like that is truly a part of my identity at this point. I did not know about pelvic health physical therapy until I was in PT school. So that feels like years ago at this point. I know I wanted to be a PT when I was like 17 years old, and that's over a decade and some change ago. But yeah, I found out that I want to be a pelvic floor physical therapist during that time in PT school. I found out about it, had a wonderful professor who was a pelvic floor physical therapist and also taught, of course, she instructed. And it was like these graded little exposures to it, essentially. And I was like, oh, that sounds cool. That sounds interesting. I've always wanted to be, I've always found myself to be an advocate for women in one way or another, I feel like. And I felt like with this specific profession, this specific subspecialty, I could naturally do that. So I would say naturally, I'm an advocate for women. I'm an advocate for minorities, always trying to find a way to really protect minorities and support them and provide resources to them. And I feel like that's inherent and part of my job. I feel like it's inherent in who I am. And so that's what I'm always trying to do in any space that I move in. That's a large part of what I do. When I was first developing my interest in pelvic floor PT, I went to a conference, a young student, just naive, green, our combined sections meeting. Oh, feels like ages ago, but I went to a lecture by Lauren Collins. She is a pelvic health physical therapist out of DC, and she's a professor now at Howard. But I went to a lecture that she had. It was called Sexual Assault in Communities of Color. And it just really spoke to me. She had shared some statistics about sexual assault altogether. And I knew it was prevalent. I just hadn't heard the stats. And at the time, it was like 1 in 5. And we know that's underreported, right? It's underreported altogether. And so she had shared a stat, 1 in 5 women pretty much worldwide at this point. And I was like, wow, 1 in 5, that is prevalent, like 1 out of every 5. And for women of color, specifically Black women, that number was 20% higher. So that's 2 in 5, right? Offer it. And then we put that into a group of 10, we double that, that's 4 out of 10 women. And again, this is an underreported stat. And so that just spoke to me. I was like, 4 out of 10 women who have dealt with sexual assault or sexual trauma, essentially. And then I thought about my own personal friend group, who I have like really deep rooted, wonderful relationships with, who I've grown with. And that number for my friend group was 6 out of 10. And so that was astronomical to me. And she kept connecting these dots of, people who have a history of sexual assault and trauma they have a higher prevalence of chronic pelvic pain. A secondary diagnosis of chronic pelvic pain is IBS. And so I was noticing this kind of connection of our body and this way that our body can really take on symptoms, not necessarily cause and effect, but correlation there. And so that really spoke to me. And that really drives my passion for what I'm doing today. Like that really has done it. It's not when I see my clients, I'm seeing my friends in a way. Like I have friends who've dealt with chronic UTIs, yeast infections. I have friends who have IBS. I have friends who've dealt with pain with sex. So that really has driven my passion in a way. So that's largely who I am. In spite of all the other things that I've been through, that really, really does drive me. That's how I identify myself and who I am.
That's a strong purpose. And I'm glad that you're here for that. Not glad that you and your friends experienced that, but because you were in that circle and in the right place at the right time, now you're in the space of helping. Now you're in the
Mhm.
space of helping your friends and anyone else overcome the secondary conditions, the pain, the infections, all the things that come as a result of trauma. At the end of the day, I feel like a lot of things go back to trauma. Or it gets thrown around quite a bit, like trauma. Everyone has trauma. Yeah, everyone does have
Yes.
trauma. And trauma is just a strong emotional experience that you were never able to fully express because it wasn't safe to do so at the time. So even little traumas get accumulated in our bodies over time and affects who we are later, now and in the future.
Yeah, absolutely.
Welcome to the space. We're glad you're here.
Thank you. Thank you. Heavy start, but
It is,
that's
right.
definitely my pool. That's definitely my pool.
So it's very interesting, your statistics, and it holds true for what I do as well. I would say at least 75% of the people that I help with pelvic pain have experienced sexual trauma. And the trauma, it gets stuck in us and we don't process it. And then it shows up as pelvic pain in one way, shape, or form.
One way or another. Exactly. It's as if our body, there's different research on this, but in those moments where something is overwhelming to our emotions, overwhelming to our nervous system, we can kind of freeze and shut down. It's as if our amygdala is like, nope, done, can't process this. This is too much to integrate right this moment. And so things can kind of get stuffed and buried down until they start showing up in other ways, right? Whether it's in our daily life, whether it's in our body, they just start showing up. And then we have to start paying attention to them because they're little alarms that need to be addressed. And my whole goal with my clients in general is to let's work on those little alarms, all the different ways that they are showing up in your life. And it's not just physically, like it literally is not. It's what are your daily life stressors? What are the things that are out of control and how can we kind of control them? Yeah, not a way that is obsessive, but what can we do to control our environment and protect ourselves and protect our nervous system? Because our nervous system is so important. We have to nourish it. It's connected to our immune system. Our nervous system has a huge connection with our gut, our central nervous system. And so with these different traumas that we have, it changes our brain chemistry in a way. It changes our central nervous system chemistry and how we process things. Even into our gut, we have something called our enteric nervous system that helps our digestion and naturally how that's supposed to happen. But when we go through traumatic things and there's this accumulation, well, now things are changing. Now we went through something traumatic and sudden and haven't been able to process it, but then, oh, here's IBS. Where did this come from? And there can be more things with that, right? We can talk about diet. We can talk about just your natural gut flora and your immune system, but correlation. And that doesn't always get talked about, but it's something that we do have to talk about that I think is so pivotal in healing altogether.
I'm glad you brought up the nervous system because I feel like I preach the nervous system all the time. Like we need to regulate the nervous system. Like, yeah, we can, you know, eat better, we can take supplements and exercise and do all the things, but ultimately what we're addressing is the nervous system, right? And if someone
altogether.
takes a condition, PCOS, for example, right? PCOS or
Mhm.
endometriosis, right? Just taking that as an example. And I believe that a big push is to let's address the nutrition. It's nutrition that helps. Let's address nutrition. Let's take all of the supplements. But if you're not addressing the nervous system, the supplements mean nothing because your body's not going to be able to break them down when it's in a state of fight or flight. So anytime
Exactly.
you have any chronic issues, pain related, gut related, anything, you need to go to the nervous system first. Once you can start to regulate the nervous system, then you can look at, okay, what does my diet look like? Okay, what else can I do to help support my nervous system? Is it sleeping more? Is it taking more break and more rest and maybe cutting my day an hour early from work so I can go take a walk? Like, what is it that I need to do to nourish and support my nervous system? That is number one. And I'm glad you also brought up the enteric system, the gut, as being part of the nervous system, because it really is. I also believe the heart is the first part and central part of the nervous
Mm,
system because what forms first, guys? The heart.
that
It's
part.
the heart.
It does.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
it's the heart,
that
it's the gut, it's the brain. Those, to me, those are our three main nervous systems, and they all work together and they all support every other system in the body, including the immune system.
absolutely. Where are we without all of those things working in synchrony? Where are we literally? And what you're speaking to is just stress management. Like if I have a client come in and they're stressed and they have a high level of stress, they're not able to management. I'm like, well, hold on. I can't do anything for you until we figure that out. So, what is it that we're going to do to address that? I have to literally explain that to them. I can do all the manual therapy in the world. I can do all the exercise with you in the world. We can do all the breath work, the pelvic floor down training, the there's so many things, the neuromuscular retraining, all of these things that we can do, but it's going to be null and void. It's not going to do anything. It's not going to stick because we haven't addressed the root of the issue. And if your stress level is up here, your cortisol is going off, that just affects everything, right? If we're just constantly in this amplified, dysregulated state, we cannot do anything for you. So it's important. It's just vital that we address that first. So what are we going to do? What does that plan look like is what I'm always bringing up with people, like, in a gentle way, in a nice way, but I'm a huge mental health advocate. So are we able to speak to somebody? Is there somebody that can help you kind of work through what you're feeling? If that's not an option, what are we going to do? Do we believe in meditation? Do we believe in yoga? Can we journal? Can we go outside and to the sun and ground? What can we do? How can we start our day just in a grounded state? Do I need to help you develop a routine? Because it's vital. We all have to do that. And then as practitioners, we have to do our own centering work because patients, clients can feel that too. So if I'm coming at you dysregulated, well, now you and me both are dysregulated messes, and this is not going to get better. And so that is important. I can't stress it enough. Like we have to all be grounded, right? I'm not the complete arbiter of your healing, but I can give you resources. I can do that all day. I can give you tools. I can treat. I can do all of these things. But there is work that has to be done to make sure that our nervous system is in a good state so that those tools, those resources I give you, they actually stick. That's what we want. We want them to stick. I don't want to see you forever. I don't. I love you. I love my clients. But I don't want to see you here forever. I really don't. I want you to move on from me. I want you to have these tools and then be able to be self-reliant and have resilience and know I have these tools in my toolbox. All right, let me survey my system. What have I learned? What do I need to do to figure this out for myself? Right? Autonomy. That's what I want for my clients at the end of the day. That's what I want for everyone at the end of the day. Autonomy in your self-healing journey.
Okay, I love everything you just said, and I'm trying to decide where to start.
Yeah.
But the one thing that stuck out for me, because a lot of my clients say to me, do you believe in pelvic PT? What do you think about it? And I am all about the body the mind, and the spirit. But one of the examples I give my clients is if we turned the sink on and it started to overflow and the water starts going, the pelvic PT can keep, mopping the floor. But unless your body is ready to accept it and accept your hands easing those muscles or doing what the tools that you can teach them to do, that it's basically about shutting the water off first and addressing the nervous system, which is so, so important.
So important. I love that metaphor you use. That is perfect. That's all I'm literally going to be doing is just cleaning up this, for lack of a better word, mess that keeps on happening. If we cannot get to the root, if we cannot be in synchrony, like I said, in sync. So I love that metaphor. I'm gonna have to use that, Laura. That's a good one.
Now, you brought up co-regulation. Well, I'm naming it co-regulation, right? If you are not regulated, right? And your patient or client comes in, and because you are automatically the authority in the room, they're going to match your energy. So that's why it's so essential for us to be regulated. Our nervous system needs to be in check. We need to be mindful of where we are because, as I said, we are the authority in the room. Just because of the position that we're put in, we are the ones who are going to end up driving where their energy goes. So if our energy is off, they come in already off because they're coming to us because their energy is off, and we off, guess what? It's not going to go well. And we're going to feel that as the therapist, and the client or the patient is going to feel that as well. And they're going to be like, that was a really hard session. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
with
that's why our self-care is so important. And we have to be mindful of where our energy is. And if it's not in the right place, what can we do about that? Can we go take a walk? Can we go journal? Can we go meditate, do some yoga, do something to get our energy back to where it should be? And if not, then it's up to us to be the responsible one to say, you know what, today's not a good day for you to come in, or I'm going to move your schedule. Something came up because I'm dysregulated. And reaching regulation, our patients should understand. Right?
absolutely.
We hope that they would understand because we're teaching from example versus like, here's all the things that I know and I don't do it. No, here's all the things that I know and I do and practice it. And look, here's an example of it. Can you come next week?
Right. Right. What an example. Yeah, that's super, super important because we really do lay the foundation for success with our clients. So to take care of ourselves is pivotal. I it's just pivotal. I can't explain it. I can't explain it enough. We have to take care of ourselves um, through this whole journey, especially treating people who do have acute and chronic pelvic pain. It gets heavy. There's times when you can have heavy weeks with clients, right? It gets very heavy going through a flare or just a very maybe tumultuous or complex kind of psychosocial situation, lots of stressors at home, stressors at work, stressors with family, friends, all of these things. So it gets heavy. So it's pivotal to really take care of ourselves as practitioners, no matter how that looks. But that's something that I every day, like driving into work. And before I start, I'm just like, where am I? Surveying myself, like mentally, how am I feeling today? What do I need to do for myself today? Is there a break that I need to take? What extra steps do I need to take for myself in seeing maybe a client that I know is just a little bit more upregulated right now? And it's not their fault. If I was in pain and I was fearful of the pain and fearful of the unknown, I might be just that exact same way. And part of it is your nervous system. It's plastic. So it starts to change. And then that's kind of where we're always living. We're in this amplified, upregulated state. So yeah, it's pivotal. But so I really take time, to make sure I know where I am. So I'm not adding fuel to this fire. Even in my tone of voice, how I'm talking to people, how I give them a the plans so they know where my hands are going to be, if I'm going to be touching them, what it looks like, so that I can set the stage and their expectations at the beginning. Because in my setting, I want them to feel like they have agency, they have autonomy, they have control. We're working together. This is a partnership. So that's so important to me, especially when we're dealing with clients who have acute and chronic pelvic pain, to just really set the stage. And that means taking care of yourself as a practitioner.
It's just the old saying, practice what you preach,
Simple.
right? It's very
Simple.
simple. And it's something I've started doing for myself as well, just noticing, what do I need to do for myself today to be the most regulated coach, to be the most regulated somatic practitioner, to show up for other people? Because if we can't show up for ourselves, then we can't show up for others.
No, it's a huge lesson in life. Earlier you learn it, the better.
And I loved one of the other things you said is giving our clients the sense of control.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you're in chronic pain, like I was,
Mm-hmm.
you feel like there's nothing in your control at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
And when we can at least co-regulate with our practitioner, that's half the battle right there.
Mm-hmm.
And then they can start accepting the tools that we give them in order to know, oh, I can do something for my pain. I do have something I can do. This
Yeah.
doesn't have the power over me.
No. No. Yeah. That's really, really big, to empower them, because that is such a scary place. Like, I'm always empathetic to my clients and putting myself in their shoes, because that's just a scary place to be. Like, that is just a scary place to be. I learned early on, like in my early days of being a pelvic health PT, I was working as a contracted therapist in a urology office, working very closely with, well, the sole pelvic health physical therapist in urology office coming out of PT school. So that was something. But working very closely with urologists and urogynecologists, and just realizing how complex my clients' cases were. I was like, this is a lot. Some of these things are really above me. And that's when it really hit home for me that I have to do more. It's more in the sense of mental, emotional, and physical, less than physical, but like more in the sense of mental, emotional, psychological, spiritually as well, because that piece is so important. I cannot do a thing with them. So that's when I really had to take a deeper dive, and I started reading all these different books, like The Body Keeps a Score. And then I had a client recommend The Way Out. And then it just kept going, like all this research, and I love pain neuroscience. And so I was just like, I loved it in school. I need to circle back and take a deeper dive, because how can I help people? And something that I like to do a lot with my clients is somatic tracking, is like where you are literally surveying your body, identifying what you feel, being mindful of it, realizing that something that we call safety reappraisal, like, my body is safe. It is safe. But when we're dealing with chronic pelvic pain and our nervous system is kind of changed, and we're dealing with something called central sensitization, where our nervous system is just amplified, well, we have to remind ourselves that our brain is kind of misinterpreting signals. And we have to tell our brain, no, you're safe. It's okay. So identifying what you are feeling during that time. I do this during sessions. Like, if I'm doing manual work, tell me what you're feeling. Identify that thing. Explore that sensation, but be curious about it. Not in a, I'm bound by this fear or anything like that. Like, just being curious about it, observing it. Is it moving? Is it changing? Is it subsiding? Is it calming? What is it doing? Right. But not being pulled to it in any sort of way, just observing some more what's going on with this pain. But then at the end of the day, you have to turn down that intensity, right, throughout the day. You can't be up here observing your symptoms and like, what's going to happen. The biggest piece of somatic tracking is it's outcome independence. Your fear around this and wanting it to go away, and like, okay, I'm surveying my symptoms, and by the end of this, it should go away. No, that fear amplifies it. That fear reinforces it. You're scared of it. And so that's not the whole purpose. The whole purpose is we're just aware of our symptoms, and that's just what it is. And we leave it. we don't go down the rabbit hole, the tunnel of this pain, I'm going to have it forever. This pain is going to limit me from getting married. This pain is going to limit me from finding a partner, or being able to just ride my bike, or being able to just exercise and walk, and being able to just go to social events and sit down and interact with people and just live a normal life. Those are the things that really make the pain cycle worse. And that's what I had to realize in my journey as a practitioner, like more of this emotional, psychological piece and spiritual piece than this physical piece. What I'm doing is important and it's valid. And yes, if there are structurally things off and wrong, we have to fix that. That can be a huge driver in our symptoms. But beyond that, what else is contributing to this? And so that's often like a thing I use in treatment and then outside of treatment too. Like, this is your homework assignment. I want you to pay attention to your pain, but I don't want you to be bound to it. Don't be bound to it. I know that's easier said than done, but it's important.
Yeah, the sense of curiosity, as you mentioned,
Yes.
is the one thing that I always, always advise and encourage is to just be curious. And when you come from a place of curiosity, that automatically removes judgments because you're not creating the story around it. It's not coming from a space of fear. When there's fear, you
Right.
create a story around it. But when you remove the story and just have that sense of curiosity, that automatically puts you in the observer seat and you're like, oh, what am I feeling? Where am I feeling it? Where are the boundaries? I use a lot of senses too, like give it a color, find the boundaries of it. Where does
Mm,
it go? Is it fluid or is it really solid? Like,
love that.
how can you describe it? And then because the more you can notice it in that moment, the more you might notice it other times, right? If your pain goes away and it starts to creep up, your brain now recognizes it and goes, oh, I feel that fluidity coming back. I feel the boundaries starting to become more defined and stronger. And
Mm,
just by observing it again and noticing when it starts to creep up, it might go away because you're observing it. You cannot experience pain and observe pain at the same time. You're either feeling it or you are observing
mm.
it. But when you remove yourself from the story and put yourself in the observer seat, now you're observing it and you distance yourself from, I am this person who feels pain, to
Huh.
pain is here. You're no longer the pain. The pain is here, but I'm not
Right.
identified with it. And lo and behold, your life is going to get better.
Exactly. I love
Easier
how you
said than
explain
done,
that.
right? A
Yes.
really shortened, condensed version of it. But essentially, that's what it is. That's what we're each trying to work on. And that's what we're
Hmm.
each trying to teach people to work on, I should say.
Exactly. I love how you explain that. Being the observer and not the pain, not being bound to the pain. Beautiful.
And I just want to build on what you both said because both of you described it beautifully. And one of the things that happens with pain patients, which you guys know, is we get consumed by the pain and we
Mhm.
forget who we are. So it's one of the things I do right away with patients is I start asking them who they are. I am a good cook. I am a good sister. I am a good pet owner, whatever it is, because we start getting so intertwined with our pain. And what I want to remind people is you are not your pain. It's
Right.
only a part of what's happening in your body. And one of the things I use and one of the words I use actually is if they can separate from their pain.
Mm,
It sometimes is helpful to even that use that one word because then they can notice that it's part of them, but not who they are. And it helps them to become the observer.
I love that. I really
Yep.
think that's important. Can you separate? Can you separate from your pain? I love those questions that you ask, like having them describe themselves, right? Ways that they identify themselves. Are you a good cook? Are you this? Are you that? It reminds me of something that Jessica Drummond, a wonderful PT, I don't know where she's located, maybe in Canada. For some reason, not speaking to me, but a conference recently. She was discussing how she starts with her clients like, tell me a win. Like that's the first thing she tells them. She asks them to tell her for a treatment session or a coaching session. Like, let's start it off there. And it's just like a beautiful testament of setting that stage. Like, tell me a win. Tell me where you are, because you are literally more than just this situation right here that you're seeing me about. Tell me a win. Let's not just go straight to, I felt this pain or I felt this symptom. No, what's a positive? Let's start there and let's build on that every time.
I'll
Yeah.
often ask patients what do they enjoy doing, and they'll share what they enjoy doing, and I'll say, when was the last time you did that, and how can you do more of that?
Mhm.
Because when people experience pain, they hyper focus on the pain and everything becomes associated with the pain. Oh, I can't do this because, I can't do that because. And then before you know it, you stop doing all the things that bring you joy. But if you just go back to doing the things that bring you joy, then the more joy you experience, the less discomfort you experience, because you can't hold both of them. Or you can, actually. I shouldn't say you can't. You can hold both joy and discomfort, but the joy will grow, the
Mhm.
discomfort will shrink or contract. So that's an important thing. I
Exactly.
also wanted to ask, I think you did start touching on this. You sort of crept into this mind, body, spirit space because of your own curiosity, right? You
Mhm.
started reading books and it led you down these different paths. But is there more to that story? Because there are not many PTs and there are not many pelvic floor PTs with this belief, with this philosophy of treatment. Because we are physical therapists, there is an
Yeah.
emphasis on the physical. And I think a lot of that is one because of our training, right? Yes, we are physical therapists, so there's a lot of that training to be physical. But there's also a question of, is it within our scope?
Mhm.
Can we address the mind? Can we address the spirit while still remaining within our scope? So I guess I have two questions for you.
Yeah.
How did you end up in this space?
Yeah.
And then how else are you addressing the mind and the spirit that's within your scope?
How did I end up in this space? Wow, that is such a question. I think number one, I think it just started from being a spiritual person myself and just recognizing that peace and how important it's been for me throughout my life. I did grow up Christian. I grew up like conservative religious, and I've kind of evolved in that way, but spiritual all the same. And so I think I just recognize that in people, that we have a soul, we have a spirit, we are all interconnected in these ways that we don't realize. Energy is a real thing. You can feel that within people. And so I think I just recognize that within myself and people, first of all. Um, but I also had some really great mentors. Like one is the owner of a clinic where I work, Dr. Mercy Hortensia Treaster. And then I have another mentor. Her name is Dr. Jennifer McGowan. She's also here in Georgia as well. But she really helped spark things off for me. So when I was working in that as a contracted therapist in the urology office and working with urologists and urogynecologists, once I realized that, what people were dealing with was bigger than me, I realized that I needed mentorship. I needed more. I just needed more to help people essentially. And so one of my mentors, Jennifer, was really big on that, like coaching essentially, and, managing stress and diet and talking about hormones and talking about exercise and what are all the other things we can do. And I feel like sometimes as pelvic floor therapists, we can have this very linear approach with the pelvic floor, like what's going on with the pelvis, what's going on with the pelvic floor itself. And it's bigger than that. It works, yes, it works within a system. So how is the rest of that system working? First of all, what is their spine doing, what are their hips doing, all of these other things. But then beyond that, what is happening in their life that is affecting their pelvic floor? So I think mentorship was like a huge piece for me, recognizing my limitations as a therapist, as a new therapist, and then having mentors that really said, look outside of the pelvis, like literally, but then also figuratively, what else is going on within their life that could be affecting their system and their pelvic floor. I think that's where it really started for me. That was a big piece.
And then you mentioned before journaling, you'll mention asking specific questions, which sounds like
Yeah.
motivational interviewing, integrating some somatic piece is into
Mhm.
there. But is there any other, or are there any other techniques or tools that you utilize when you're working with individuals to specifically address the mind and the spirit?
It's a great question. Um, I feel like so much of what I do is inherent. So it's like one of those things where you, you use a ton of stuff that you pick up over the years from people um, throughout my time, whether it's research or mentorship that I've done or conferences that I've been in. I'm just trying to think of something specific, but I really do a lot of those things, like the meditation, the journaling, the somatic tracking. I'm using those regularly. Um, Beyond that, I think it's really, really important that my clients know that I want to provide a safe space for them, especially when we're thinking about people who dealt with trauma, right? And so, one thing that I think naturally I do is just offer trauma informed care, however that looks for them, right? In being, and being an ally with them, like whether it's the setup of my room, making sure that's the safest place, like I think that's one thing, like where your table and where it's facing the door and all that matters, right? Those are little pieces, but they go a long way. Talking before you touch. We're taught that throughout PT school, but like actually doing that, explaining to you what I'm going to be doing before I do said things. I think that's like a huge offering and a gift that we can naturally do for our clients to make them feel seen and feel safe. That's a really big thing for me, no matter how it looks. Like, what am I going to be doing to offer this client trauma informed care so that they have agency in this room and I'm not another vessel that commits an infraction against them? Because oftentimes when we are seeing our clients who have dealt with acute and chronic pelvic pain and pain in general, they have been to physician after physician, specialist after specialist. And I just do not. I literally refuse to be another one who harms them. I just refuse. So I think that moves me in a lot of ways. And that I would say is just another way that I really facilitate safety. And it's just little things that we can do to really make them feel safe.
That is so important because having been a pelvic pain patient and having been to, I can't even tell you the number of doctors, and having come across people that didn't believe me or
Mm.
thought I was crazy or then gave me false hope, and coming into an environment where I would see someone like you would have just helped my nervous system right from the bat.
Mhm.
Just coming into a sense of safety with someone that's caring, kind, creating a safe environment for me would have made, all the difference in the world. And it would make all the difference in the world for anyone, dealing with any kind of chronic pain condition.
Absolutely. I'm happy to hear you say that. Hate that you've been through what you have been through, but happy to hear you understand the significance of that.
So I'm just curious, how are you an advocate now today for women of color? I think I shared with you at the beginning of this podcast when we first started talking that I see hundreds and hundreds of clients, and I'd say 75% to 80% are women, but I don't actually have any clients of color. And so I'm just curious how you're an advocate for women of color today.
Mm-hmm. Fortunately, in my clinic, I see a decent amount of minorities. I would love to see more, just to touch on that. But one is offering trauma informed care to anyone, but especially minorities, just recognizing the fact that when I have a client who comes in and they look like me, we look like each other, what a beautiful what a beautiful instance that is, because we just know when someone does look like you, especially a minority, since we have research to show that there's just better outcomes, right? And so that is fact. That is what it is. So that's one thing, offering that care and thinking about someone's history, because so many of us have been through trauma. Those of us who survived COVID, we have been through trauma. There's a lot to be said with that time altogether. But one way that I feel like I'm working on advocating for women of color and just minorities in general is there's like a couple little initiatives that I've been a part of, but one of them in Atlanta, we have the Center for Black Women's Wellness. And so they do this basically kind of like a general practitioner, a PCP kind of wellness clinic on Wednesdays. And so that's something that I've attended, not even as a pelvic health physical therapist, but just working with the team there to do simple things like take vital signs and, different measurements or whatever they need me to do to help facilitate a Wednesday evening clinic for free for these people in a specific neighborhood in downtown Atlanta. So that's one thing that I'm kind of doing. I've had the great pleasure of working with Lauren Collins, who, again, she really popped this off for me. But she has a nonprofit that pretty much is a pelvic health physical therapy clinic, a pro bono clinic that offers pelvic health PT services to minorities who have a history of sexual violence or domestic violence. So that's an initiative that is an initiative I was a part of this past year, which was amazing to just be able to do what I do and give back to communities that aren't as fortunate to just have these services, which I'm trying to do, is make pelvic health physical therapy more accessible. So that's one thing. Another thing that I'm considering doing, there's a beautiful thing, a new birth center being open in Atlanta, in East Point, basically, who will pretty much be geared towards providing birthing services and so many other services to minorities, specifically of the Hispanic community and Black community. And so I'm hoping to become a pelvic health physical therapist that works there on contract, but just making it more accessible. And then within that, doing some of the things that I naturally do to advocate for minorities. That's my true hope. So those are something, but I just feel like there's always so much more to do. I feel like those of us who are pelvic floor therapists or just have a heart for service and heart for people who are in pain, it always just feels like it's not enough. There's more we want to do. We can drive ourselves crazy wanting to do more and more things. But those are some ways where I feel like I'm naturally kind of advocating for women of color. And then on top of that, when I do have clients who come in and they're coming in specifically for like labor prep, delivery prep, right? It's all the resources. It's giving them resources like the Earth app so that you can literally look up, like the Yelp app, what providers have the best outcomes in your area, because that's so important. What location, what providers, where do you want to go? How can we limit, the possibility of a C-section? Sometimes those are necessary. That is completely necessary, medically necessary. But what can we do to give you the best birthing experience that limits trauma? Not to say that people who have C-sections have trauma. Not always go smoothly sometimes, right? But just having the smoothest birth in the world. That's what I'm always trying to do. So just helping people be set up in the best way, like having pelvic floor PT during that prenatal period as much as needed, making sure that you can move, you can exercise, you're not limited as much as possible, right? We want our body to be stressed in a way during that time from a cardiovascular level, because pregnancy and delivery is a cardiovascular stress test. What can I do as a physical therapist to make sure that you can move so that you can exercise throughout your entire pregnancy and even before you get pregnant, so that we can have the best outcomes possible? So it's me providing resources in those instances, right, of support, whether it's talking about midwives and doulas, and how we literally know there's research that doulas really do help with birthing outcomes and can help with the prevention of C-sections, especially unnecessary ones. But just having a birth plan is a huge thing, and that's why I'm such an advocate for that, and doulas and midwives in general. There's wonderful OBGYNs, there's wonderful obstetricians out here, and I know that, and I've heard experiences, and I believe in it. But I also believe that the birth should look how you want it to look. And so If that is a natural vaginal delivery that's in the home or at a birth center, I'm a huge advocate for that. As long as it is medically responsible and okay, and you have an okay, I just want us to be safe. I want Black women to be safe and to be heard. And so I do all that I can to prepare them during that time. I even hassle them a little bit. Like, what is your birth plan? Who's going to be there? Who is in the room with you when you're going to be there? Are these energies that are going to match, that you feel safe with, that you feel comfortable with? Let's talk about that, because those details matter. And what mental and emotional prep are you doing in preparation for your labor? I think those are natural ways that I'm trying to advocate for my clients, for sure.
I just wanted to say that I feel your energy, and it really is beautiful, and it's beautiful all the things that you're doing, and your patients, your clients. All of Georgia is lucky to have you, because it really is not as common to have someone like you in this space of pelvic floor physical therapy. As someone who is in this space, it's not that common to find others also in this space, especially other Black women. So thank you. I cannot express how much I appreciate you, and appreciate you taking the time to speak with us today and share all of the knowledge and expertise that you have to share. And we could have talked for a whole lot more on so many more
Oh my
things.
gosh.
And I would love to have you back. And by then, you'll be a board certified women's health specialist.
Listen, speak it into existence.
Speaking it for you. So, but yeah, this has just been truly amazing. And I thank you from all corners of my heart.
Of course. Thank you so much. I received all of that. It gave me chills, you just saying that. I just feel like a little old person over here just trying to do what I can. Move my legs how I can to just be around here doing what I can do to really support anyone dealing with pelvic health issues, and especially minorities, being a minority. So I appreciate you saying that so much. And I appreciate y'all for having me on here. It means so much. Anything I can do to just get the word out about pelvic health PT is just big for me. It just speaks to me. It really, really does. So I'm grateful for the work that you all are doing. The fact that you took on this great feat of doing a podcast. I know it takes plenty hours and hours of editing and preparation and doing the work that you were saying, Laura, just finding people who resonate with you, that fit your podcast, because everybody's not for everybody. So I give you all your flowers, a huge applause to both of you for this podcast.
Thank you.
So where can people find you if they'd like to reach out?
Yes. So on Instagram, where I work, we are the Pelvis Pro. So you can follow us at the Pelvis Pro. You can email me, Angelica at the Pelvis Pro, if you want to email me. And then my Instagram, it is something I've had for a long time. So it's literally just ANGEE_LICAA. It's Angelica, essentially. But that's where you can find me. Email me, chat with me. I love to talk about pelvic health, so you'll never get me to shut up about that. So reach out.
Thank you so much for being here with us today. We really appreciate it. And we know all your words are going to help so many people. And good luck to all your endeavors in the future.
Thank y'all so much. I appreciate it. I'll see y'all soon enough.
If you'd like to leave us a message or ask a question, please check the show notes with the link so you can reach us directly, or email us at beyondthepelvis@gmail.com.